What do Luke Skywalker and Santa Claus have in common, you ask? Well, you may never have actually asked that, but I'm asking that, and they may have more in common than you realize. Stay tuned. Well, I was watching John Talk Star Wars, which is another YouTube channel. If you guys don't know his channel, you probably do, but if you don't, check it out. It's a great channel. He does a great job breaking all things down. Star Wars, the current state of Star Wars, and he's got a good sense of humor about him. He's also writing his own version of The Last Jedi right now, which is pretty interesting to follow. Some of his ideas have been really good so far. But check his channel out. Anyway, he was doing a video, I think it's his last video, was released yesterday or the day before, and it was talking about Christopher McQuarrie. He's a director, and he had done some interviews where they had asked him about fandom and the toxic fandom of Star Wars, and he gave some really interesting responses, kind of defending the fans in a way, saying that, you know, you take these characters that are a part of our childhood, we've grown up with them, they become like a part of our essence and who we are as adults. They're shaping, you know, the views of children who are growing up now, just like they did when I was a kid in the 80s. So it was a very interesting interview, and it made me think, based on what he was saying, what other characters from childhood, you know, kind of shape who you become and who you are, and influence your view on things, and that you carry with you into adulthood. And I thought of a very interesting comparison. There is this jolly man in a fat red suit, and his name's Santa Claus. And for many children around the world, he is an integral part of who we are growing up. You know, it's Christmas time, he adds to Christmas, he brings you gifts, you're a kid, you know, that's like the most important thing on the planet, getting gifts on Christmas morning. And even if you're not of the Christian religion, you know, if you're, I mean, everyone knows around the world, everyone knows who Santa Claus is for the most part. So he really shaped society, and he shapes your childhood. And he's a character of good intention. He is a wholesome, you know, you can count on him. He's dependable. He's loving. He's a jolly man. He's the kind of guy, you know, you'd want to, well, I guess you'd want as like a grandfather, you know, figure. And I was thinking Luke Skywalker in some ways is a very similar type of character. And this made me think of a specific movie in general, and to compare that to Last Jedi. There was a movie, well, everyone, or you might be familiar with the movie Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It was one of the Rankin Bass from the 60s. It was a stop animation puppeteering that they used, and it tells the story of Santa Claus. Well, a few years later, they did another story with Santa Claus using the same Mickey Rooney, who's the great actor. Mickey Rooney did the voice, and it's called A Year Without a Santa Claus. And in this telling of the story, Santa is well into his years of being Santa at this point, and he's a little weary and tired and doesn't really want to go out on Christmas Eve this one particular year. And it worries all of the elves and Mrs. Claus, because they think Santa's got to go. How can he not go? This is Santa Claus. He needs to be there when the kids need him. And he says he's too tired, and he's got a crick in his neck. He's got this, you know, cute little song about how he's not feeling well, just doesn't want to go out, and there's no Christmas spirit left in the world. So there's no one to believe in him, so he doesn't want to go. Well, throughout this little story, throughout this movie, two of the elves, Mrs. Claus sends two of the elves out on a mission to go find goodwill in the world and cheer Santa up and prove to him that, you know, there's still a need for him. So during this story, the elves get in a little bit of trouble down south in Dixieland, and Santa ends up getting out of his bed and getting dressed in his normal clothes to go down and find out what's going on and to help his elves and his little baby reindeer that went with him. And through this, even though Santa's kind of a curmudgeon, he still knows there's good. He needs to do good. You know, there's people that still need him, even if it's not the world delivering presents. There's still a small group, his own people, who need him. So he goes and he helps them out, and he finds them. And, you know, through the course of the story, he finds goodwill left in the world. He finds that there are still people that believe in Santa Claus and that love him and that need him, and that he could still do good to provide hope for the rest of the world. And Santa does so, brings back joy, brings back that hope of Christmas, and it ends happily ever after. And I compare this with Luke in Last Jedi, because it's a similar, although it's completely different, it's a similar storytelling. There's similar aspects of the two stories, and they really do mesh pretty well. You've got a guy who's kind of bitter and battered and done and tired, and doesn't believe he can do any do any good anymore. He doesn't believe there's hope left. He's kind of given up. What more can I do? And unlike Santa Claus, who's true to his character, even though he's tired, he's still true to his character. He still goes down and finds his elves and helps them out in the tough situation. And then, therefore, that leads to him realizing that there's still goodwill left in the entire world, and that there's the Christmas spirit still alive, and it reinvigorates him. But unlike Santa, Luke doesn't do the same thing. He remains a curmudgeon the whole time. He doesn't want to go with Rey, even though he should. He should go with Rey to help his sister out. It's his blood. Why wouldn't he want to go and just at least help her out? Even if it's not like I can't help the galaxy, but okay, I'll help my sister. But he doesn't do that. He stays a curmudgeon the whole movie, and that's just a poor story. It's a poor writing. It would have been so much more effective had he gone the Santa Claus route of A Year Without a Santa Claus and helped Leia, to do a little thing. Still, if he was still kind of against the whole idea, like Santa was, he could still go and help his own people. And then, therefore, seeing this, realizing that, maybe there is still rebellion, there is still hope, I can still provide hope, there is something I can still do. And then, he could have gotten a little more reinvigorated, like Santa did. And then Santa, of course, goes out on Christmas Eve, delivers the presents to all the children, all the good boys and girls around the world, and it's a happy ending. Now, of course, you don't have to do the same thing. I mean, Luke could still have his setbacks, and but it would have been so much more effective had he gone to help Leia. Had he started to realize, I still can do good, I still can, reinvigorated him. What a better story that would have been. And it's something I think that Rian Johnson just really missed the boat on. And just listening to this or reading about this interview with Christopher McQuarrie just made me think of that. It's another childhood character that we grew up with, and when you mess with them, we don't take it that well. It's like messing with Santa Claus. But at least when they messed with Santa Claus and made him a curmudgeon, it was only for a certain part of the movie, and he still, was a good guy. He was still Santa Claus. He was still little by little inching his way back to being that Santa that delivers on Christmas Eve. And that's something that Luke should have done. His crate appearance was not exactly, he wasn't. It's like Santa force projecting presents to you on Christmas morning, and then poof, they're gone. I was just giving you the thrill, not really there. It's it's a terrible thing to do, and it's kind of like the same idea of what Luke did in on Crate. The force projection. Yeah, sure, it's kind of a half-assed attempt at really being there. So I just thought that was a good comparison. Have you guys seen The Year Without a Santa Claus? If not, it's a great Christmas movie. It's very cute. But let me know what you think about these comparisons. How similar the version of Luke, Jake Skywalker, I should say, is to Santa in A Year Without Santa Claus, and how the story could have benefited had they really made it a little more similar to A Year Without Santa Claus. This seems like a weird comparison, comparing a Star Wars movie to a children's Christmas classic, but it seems to work. For the character of Luke and Santa, it seems to work. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more content. And until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.